Hey there, welcome to Authentically Raw. I'm your host, Jamie Berris. Hello, Miss Amy Jordan. I'm really excited today. We have on the podcast, the Authentically Raw podcast, Miss Amy Jordan. Amy is an award-winning author, speaker, coach, and choreographer. She's also the subject of an internationally acclaimed documentary called Amy's Victory Dance, which was also directed by Michael Jackson's choreographer. That's amazing. And Amy's book, Dance Because You Can, is fabulous. So Amy, I'm going to open it up to you right off the bat. And you're so many things. And in this book, you have so many stories. I wouldn't even know what to touch on as I was trying to prepare. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take the reins and tell us your story. What is Amy's Victory Dance all about? Maybe we'll start there.
Do you, girl, do you. Thank you, first of all, for having me, the lovely Jamie, on your wonderful podcast. It's great to be here. So I wrote Dance Because You Can, 5 steps to transform trauma into triumph in response to a 2009 accident I had in New York City where I was a dancer. Dance Because You Can, hence the title, and the movie, Amy's Victory Dance. And in 2009, I was crossing the street in New York City, you know, as we all walk everywhere in New York. And one minute I was in the crosswalk, and the next minute I was flat on the pavement. And it would not be long before I found out that I had been hit and was under the tire of a 15-ton New York City express bus. Don't try this at home, kids. Long story short, my right leg was crushed and nearly amputated, rebuilt, and as the story goes, I vowed at the time of impact, if I survived the night, there would be a victory dance. Why victory dance? Well, good question. I practice SGI Buddhism, so I was chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and from an SGI Buddhist perspective, you know, everything's about creating victory. We're never a victim of circumstance. Things don't happen by accident. Some of us have to literally get rolled over to make some changes. And so I went straight to that idea of creating victory and victory dance. I did start the Victory Dance Project, my own professional dance company, in 2014 in New York. And the movie is actually chronicling my actual personal victory dance, literal victory dance on the stage with the company in 2017, where we also honored Chita Rivera. That's the short version of that section in a nutshell. There's a whole other backstory, but
there's a lot of backstories. And why don't you touch on, I think it's important now to touch on, because, well, first off, I do remember from the book, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you thought that when you're floating in and out of consciousness about the victory dance, when you're laying there with this 15-ton bus on your leg, not even knowing if you were going to survive or if you would have a leg or exactly what was going on.
Yeah, no idea.
Right, that there would have to be a lot of changes, and not that they were immediate. It took years, which, you know, it's a lifetime, really.
It's a continual process.
It is, and it's still happening. But what other things, because it's not just the bus incident, what other things needed major changes in your life?
I was 39 at the time, and I also have type 1 diabetes since I was a child, 4 years old, which was not well managed because I had an eating disorder because I was a dancer, and that's a whole book on its own. So for me, because I had been told over and over I wouldn't make it to 30, the fact that I was I had this really huge fear around turning 40 that I wasn't going to make it to 40. So it was kind of mystic that this happened 30 days before my 40th birthday. And at that point, it took me a very long time to take responsibility for my life. I got the message that I was sick and I had a visual impairment in my early 20s, which stopped me from driving as a result of the eating disorder and the mismanaged diabetes. Bad combination. So it took me a long time to feel like I could work and take responsibility for myself. I got the message, a very enabling set of parents who wanted my life to be perfect and didn't set any boundaries and basically set me up for total failure. So if you have children, please set boundaries. Please tell them no. They might not like it, but they will appreciate it later, because I got out in the world and, it was a rough go. I didn't know how to take care of myself. So I had finally started to do that and earn a living and be like, wow, I'm like a competent human being despite my diabetes, despite my visual impairment. And then the bus happened. And, it was obviously a physically life-changing moment, 20 surgeries, almost 4 years, massive infection, cardiac trauma, and angioplasty in the middle of all of it, which we still don't know exactly where that came from. And I had to learn everything over. I couldn't dance anymore. Everything I knew from prior to May 1st, 2009 was now done. And I had to literally start over. So there's a lot of emphasis on rebuilding your body in a situation like that, which there needs to be. I was in intensive care for 2 months on a burn unit, not a place you ever want to be, because I had no skin on my leg. Like, all the bones, all the skin, all the tissue was basically gone. So when I say literally rebuilt, like piece by piece. And I would find out way after the fact in the interviews for the film that this extraordinary team I had at New York Presbyterian Hospital, burn unit, hospital for special surgery in New York, was not confident that they could save this leg. Because of my spiritual practice and my chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, I stayed consistently focused on getting back on my feet. Not that point at really dancing, but it was never an option to me to not be walking. So, and because I was a dancer, because I was an athlete, because I had taught fitness for 20 years and I had some kinesthetic awareness, I have the discipline to do the work. It's very painful to get your knee to bend. And it was there was not a lot of support, and there's a lot of support in terms of rebuilding my body, which I still have. There was not so much in terms of, okay, now you have to start a whole new life. Everyone I knew just they'd come see me, but then they would go to dance class, they'd go back to their, up and down the subway stairs, things you would never have to think about. I can't climb stairs. I can't walk super far. I can't stand for long periods of time. So my whole trajectory had to be reconfigured. And that's what the book is about, the 5 steps. And continuing now, as we were just talking, moving into different phases. And it's okay to not want to do the things you did before anymore. It's okay. Right. We can do something else. If that's not working, then let it go, which was a huge lesson.
Well, no, and how you say, if it's not working, let it go. I think of that, and it is so much easier said than done.
Yes.
But in with reading the book, you have type 1 diabetes. So you're managing that as a child. And it sounds like your parents stepped in and kind of managed it the way they thought they could. Denial. And which I felt, as in reading the book, it I don't know, it gave you a sense of denial in that you were hiding it from people.
Very
pretending it
shameful.
wasn't there, which it developed, into an eating disorder. You're eating the things you're not supposed to, but then if we binge and purge, it cancels it right out, right?
Right.
No. And then the health, obviously your health suffers from that physically, but also mentally and your mindset. And sometimes we don't understand how self-sabotaging it can be in so many other ways. And when we're a kid, we think of just the physical stuff.
Immediate.
I'm fine. I'm a kid.
Yeah.
Do you feel your eyesight? You were 22, correct?
21, yes.
And then your license was taken away.
Yeah.
So you had your license all of 5 years. You talked about in there, and I so related to when you got your license, that sense of freedom. Oh, I
couldn't wait to leave. Yeah. I'm out of here. Bye, guys.
And 5 years later, that's taken from you.
And I tell people today, driving is a luxury for sighted people that complain about the traffic. But what would your life look like if you could not drive? And they can't even imagine. Well, I don't. It's impacted every single decision I've had to make my entire life. Where I live, it's different now with Uber and this and that.
And it does take away so many of our freedoms. But I think about, even from reading that in the book, of how many freedoms were taken away from you, things that were outside of your control. The freedom to eat whatever you want as a kid.
Yes.
The freedom to blend in and,
normal, whatever that is.
But your license taken away. And then being legally blind, it's like, okay, your eyesight's taken away. Being run over by a bus, your mobility was taken away. There's so many things that were taken away, so many of these freedoms, that it is a constant, it really is a victory to overcome that. And I think, just knowing you, I see such a powerful, beautiful soul inside and out.
Thank you.
The dance. Oh, no, truly. And because we did get to meet in real life.
I know, that was awesome.
And there was just something about that hug, because when you know someone over Zoom, for so many months, and then to know the story and understand is one thing, but to really feel someone in your arms and be like, there's such a human aspect to this, because no, I haven't been run over by a bus. I can't imagine.
No, you can't.
What you went through.
It's just unimaginable.
It's unimaginable. I don't have diabetes. I have good vision. I have my license. These freedoms have not been taken away from me. And so I can empathize and I can relate on certain things of, oh, I feel like this has been taken away or this has happened or whatever. But it's still different. And until you really, I don't know, are with someone and really know their story, to understand and realize, okay, so here's where they are, here's what happened, and it's a continual process. But yeah, you can overcome a lot. And I'm going to go right to the beginning of the book, because just the word dance equals determination, acceptance, never give up, courage, and enthusiasm. Talk about determined. Throughout these pages, and just, with your life story, especially the determination, I love it that, how many doctors came in and basically were so grim, we need to amputate your leg. And you kept going through doctors until you finally got a doctor that's like,
we'll take this on.
We'll try it. They didn't guarantee it.
No.
But they were willing to try and take you on as a patient. Tell me about that, because that takes determination.
I'm very spiteful, and I'm very A, and personality. And also, again, because of my everything, I say it a lot, but it's true, because of my spiritual practice and because I had been practicing for so long at the point when this happened, this idea of determination is kind of rooted in us as SGI Buddhists. We have to stay determined to create victory no matter how hard it gets. So while that ideology was in me, I had no idea what I would be facing. But I also knew, as a fitness trainer and a dancer, I had a strong kinesthetic awareness, and my toes at that time were pink, not black, so there was no gangrene, even though like my whole leg, it was not, yeah, it was not something you would want to see in person. So, the nurse had come in and said I had a pulse. I checked the pulse, in your tissue to make sure there's circulation, and my toes were about the only thing that was moving. And an hour later, this resident comes in and, Miss Jordan, we're good. You have diabetes. We want to amputate above the knee. And I said, but my toes are pink. And it was one of those situations where you don't want to discredit a medical professional because they're amazing. But I also wasn't in the right place for my life. And again, as an SGI Buddhist, I was like, okay, I have to get in I was chanting for the right people, the right place to survive, to know what to do next. I learned to take things an hour at a time, which I still do to this day. People are like, what are you doing in 3 weeks? I'm like, what am I doing right now? I have Jamie at 1:30, and then I have to go outside because I've been at the computer all day, and then I have to work. So I said, no, I need a second opinion. You can't just, I'm a dancer. You can't just lop off my leg. And I was not in a trauma hospital. I was in a city hospital with a trauma 1 emergency, which is why they took me there. They did an amazing job in emergency. But once I got on the floor, I was not in an ICU, and I got on the phone. I'm very resourceful. I learned that. I got on the phone and just started asking people who they knew. And my father, actually, it's in the book, called my eye doctor, who had treated my visual impairment, followed me here in New York when I came back from LA, who was the head of ophthalmology at Columbia Presbyterian, who knew the head of trauma plastics. And, and again, from my practice, from chanting, it puts you in rhythm with what you need. So if you're taking action and you're chanting, bam, there it was, Monday morning, 7:30. I called Dr. Spector's office, get me the hell out of here. I don't know you, but I trust the guy. He called me back. Always the director. I'm like, I'll even get the paperwork taken care of, and I said to the team at the other hospital, I need a second opinion. I can't. They just came in like this. What do we do with her? It was way out of their league. So I appreciated that I have the wisdom to, take the action, and they got me transferred and they took it on. It was really, so it was one of those moments we have to really trust our instincts. In any situation. It doesn't discredit anyone's medical capacity, but that was not where I needed to be at that moment, and I knew it.
Definitely.
That's a long answer to that question.
No, not at all. Because, and I thought of that while reading, thinking how often we just, we don't go with our own gut, and we do just, well, this is what they said. They're the expert. And had you not listened to yourself, they would have amputated your leg. And I don't know. I mean, I think of because you go into acceptance, and I think that is where it can get tricky sometimes, because you have this decision. Am I going to accept the fact that there's so many things with acceptance, but am I going to accept the fact that my leg is going to be amputated and this is going to be my reality? Or am I going to do something different? Am I going to keep on, let's going through? I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going, because, like how we talked about the denial first too. So what was it really? You talk about your Buddhism and your chanting, like, what was it in you that was just, was it just this strong voice saying, yeah, no, that's not it. That's not what I'm going to accept? Because there are things later in life that now you do have to accept.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously, having your leg amputated, that wasn't one. Mm-hmm. How do we know the difference?
That is an interesting question. There were a lot of factors in that moment, again, because I had been working in fitness and dancing for so long, like practically speaking, mm-hmm. I knew the signs of gangrene, which would be the optimal reason to amputate, and I didn't have them. So that was one big thing. And I was not happy with the way the treatment course was going and the way the hospital was maneuvering. And, we have to pay attention to our environment, right? That's also an idea in SJ Buddhism. Reflection in your environment. It leave me in the hallway for long periods of time, and they weren't managing the diabetes correctly. I got to the burn unit and I was in ICU. Perfect example. I'm in the hospital, room full of flowers. And I got to burns and they were like, oh, no flowers. You have an entire leg up to your groin with no skin on it. And I thought, whoa, I've been for 10 days in this room full of all this stuff swirling around. So little things like that, having to pay attention. And I don't know, I just went into auto mode. And I think even at that point, I had not processed what was really going on. I was also on a lot of drugs. But I'm grateful I wasn't afraid to question it. And looking back on the scope of the injury, because we've since talked about the benefits of a potential prosthesis, especially now with the technology and this and that. But because there was so much damage to the skin and it's so far up my leg that it would be highly challenging to unlikely that a prosthetic would really take, because of the complexity. I only do things big. I can't just have a little injury below the knee and get a new leg, go on about my life. Like, I have to have skin grabbed up to my groin and this and that, diabetes, and it would be very complex, difficult situation. That's still at times on the table, but I'm good for now. So, I knew in my life that, again, I was able to pull from my life and be in what we call in rhythm with what I needed, the right doctors, the right hospital.
Mm-hmm. And even reading further, and eventually the right lawyers, even just when I love how you went through one brown suit.
Yeah.
And then,
oh my God. I'm like, oh my, you're going to get you $10 million. I'm like, look,
no.
I was like, huh? Like, I could be dead in an hour at the rate I'm going. Like, this is what? No. Thanks for stopping by. Go have a nice Friday night in New York.
Exactly.
Enjoy yourself,
Exactly. I have a few things highlighted. I gotta get my glasses on for this one.
Thank you for reading my book.
Oh, yes, definitely.
We're working on them too.
Oh gosh, keep going. So I love the whole thing about courage because obviously you've had to kind of dip into some courage. And I like that you put in the formal definition of courage is the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, pain, etc., without fear. And you said, I don't think the absence of fear represents courage at all. That doesn't even make sense to me. Who doesn't feel fear? And then, of course, we've all heard the whole courage is to fear. Now we have feel the fear and do it anyway. And I agree with that. I mean, no one's void of fear. Courage is doing something even though we're full of fear. And like you said, it's being able to say, I see you, fear. You can stick around if you want, but I've got things to do. And that is, I kind of maybe jumped way ahead, but that's step 4 in the victory dance. And you go on to mention that being fearless and being courageous really are 2 different things because it's not possible to feel fear. Not possible to not feel fear, if I didn't say that right. And I jotted down in there just even my own notes because it doesn't take courage to do things that aren't scary. I mean, if it's not scary to you and you're doing something, what courage does that take? I mean, I open up the refrigerator because I'm hungry. It's not scary. So it doesn't take courage. If I know there's something in there that's going to pop out at me.
Better.
Right. Then it takes courage to open it up. But I mean, that's the thing. Courage is understanding, okay, this is scary as hell. I'm full of whatever, but I'm going to keep going forward. I'm going to move through this. And then to go on, all these little highlight parts, you say fear reminds me I'm doing something that is propelling my life forward. And then you say, I show up anyway. You simply keep moving forward. I have become more comfortable with allowing myself to be uncertain and to try things out that may not work. After all, that is what rehearsal is for, right? I love how you tied that in with the whole choreography, but it is.
Of course I did. I'm a dancer.
It's rehearsal, and that is what life is. But how many of us don't even show up to rehearsal? How many of us don't even bother rehearsing because that takes courage? And we're too scared.
It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with this generation where they just don't want to have to face anything. And it makes me sad. Like even today, I have some people I had to respond to about speaking. And I had that and I was like, oh, to hell with it. These are not, I needed to email a producer that we worked with now and ask him to get me in touch with someone at a very high level that I want to get my book to because she's in it. And I did. And, I'm good at framing those things. But so that's constant, for me. And it's like anything, the more you do it, the less angst it has. And now I'm just like, I don't know, maybe if it's being over 50 or whatever, I'm like, I don't care. I was always looking, force comes from having a very codependent set of parents for someone else. We're always someone else will fix it. Something else will fix it. Someone else will swoop in. Some other spirit, no, me, myself, and I. So I want something to happen. That's what we call, again, not sorry to be a broken, this human revolution, we call it in SJ Buddhism. That's where the work is. That's how we transform our lives and what we say, change our karma, how we transcend things like being able to get over that hump. And I emailed this guy anyway. And I have to let someone go today after a very difficult set of circumstances that did not sit well with me. And then again, it's not the right person for this job in my world right now. and I've been putting it off. I don't even know why, because what people think of me is none of my business, and they haven't really supported this process how I expected. So, but you do it, and it concerns me with this generation upcoming that this, I don't know if entitlement's the right word, but we just want to lay back and just not face anything. And it makes me sad. Like, this is how we get where we want to be. And, as a business owner, as a dancer, like, I have to try things. How many times did I fall flat on my butt in dance class? But then I didn't. So, at that point in the book, it was literally just trying to get through each moment, each day. We didn't know what was going to happen for years. And I'm still, like, now I'm in a big transition phase, closing out a lot of things. And it's okay. I was home with the cat for Thanksgiving. Great, because I don't want to go somewhere just to go.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is okay, actually. I'm good. I worked out. I can't eat all that crap anyway because I have diabetes and I won't be crippled and fat. So.
Right. But, and just using the whole choreography thing, it's like you are the choreographer of your own life. We all are.
Yeah.
But how many times do we hand that over to other people?
Well, especially as women, too, we're taught.
Yeah. And you even touched on, that codependency part. And I think that's where it comes in. And even how you mentioned, a little bit of the entitlement and stuff. And I think so much of that, because no one's born that way. No one's born entitled. No one's born codependent. No one's,
learned traits. Yeah.
Right. And but we do this to each other. It's almost like we're trying to choreograph everybody else's lives. And okay, wait, whoa.
Not look at our own behavior. And then we just blame. And like, right. No. Again, we're not a victim of circumstance of something. And I've had to take a deep dive look at a lot of things that were not working even recently and be like, all right, something has got to shift because this is not, this road is not, it's veered. I need to veer it back.
Right. Life is always changing, but we still have power over ourselves. Mm-hmm. We still have power over our own choices. And I want to, and I hope I'm not jumping forward, but I want to get to this part because we did touch on like the codependent and things. And this isn't to say that we shouldn't expect or depend on other people. I love this part in the book because obviously the legal stuff went on for years. And you talked about how, the New York City transit system can be so brutal. And you had that feeling of you had to watch what you said, what you did, how you acted, like everything, because you didn't want it to be portrayed against you or pitted against you that, oh, she's really not that bad. I mean, you were run over by a bus.
But they're known for planting people to try and get you to do things that make it seem like I was warned about this, be very careful.
I love that going through everything, which took years and tons of time and energy and money and just everything. I love this. When you, after everything was settled and you were on the elevator, and of course you were on the elevator with your lawyer or with Andy, 2 attorneys, and the lawyer and representative from New York City Transit. Of course that would happen. It's just the way world works. But the representative looked at you squarely in the eyes and said, Miss Jordan, I know you have had a difficult time and I wish you good health. Oh my goodness. And you said the moment fell silent. My prayers had been answered. I had chanted for the humanity of the representatives from New York City Transit to emerge and for them to simply do the right thing. Not only does that speak about your character as a person, but I think it speaks so much more of, at some point, that's all we can do too, is hope for, humanity, hope for the right thing, and keep that hope alive. And you did, and you do.
I had gotten guidance about that situation, and we hear so much about the law of cause and attraction, and Namyo Renge Kyo is the actual law. Like, people say, well, I don't believe that. I'm like, well, you don't believe in the law of gravity either, but if you jump out my 20-story window, you're going to hit the ground. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you believe it. If you make a cause, you're going to get an effect. If you eat too much, you're going to gain weight. If you, so it's a simple. So we all have the capacity to be happy. Every single human, 8 billion of us on the planet, have what we call Buddhahood within us. So I really went on a campaign for like 4 years because there was nothing I could do. I could not call. I'm a fixer, right? I'm a producer. I couldn't be involved. That was the job of my lawyers. Andy, extraordinary human being. I mean, to this day, I was just thinking about him yesterday because of holidays. And when you're chanting like that and activating the actual law of the universal law of attraction, the law of Namyo Renge Kyo, then it kind of takes the worry out of it, And again, I couldn't have planned that. It was very mystic, but they're still amazed to this day. It was like the 3rd case in their 25-year history that settled out of court with transit. And so that still works for me. I'm still struggling with a situation where I've had to really do a lot of human revolution. I'm chanting for all those people because there's so much rage and so much hate, and where is it getting us? We're going back to the beginning of time, right? The Romans. And I'm reading a lot about that right now because I'm like, how do we get here? And nothing's changed. Nothing. And can't we all just get along? So in that capacity, yes, that was quite the moment of okay, this is as much accountability as we're going to be able to take. But we will. And
I love this part too. You never gave up, no matter how crazy it got. I kept showing up and making a way. When I couldn't buy groceries, I found food stamps. When I lost one place to live, I found another. When one doctor said we'd have to amputate, I found other doctors willing to try to save my leg. I fought for my life with everything in me. At times when I was so depressed that I couldn't even manage to get out of bed, I just chanted while staring at the ceiling. Eventually, I got myself up and took care of the next task at hand. And then you go on later just saying, sitting at dinner after the case settled, you took yourself out. I just like how you wrote, I will keep moving. I promised myself, and I will make good on that promise. I will create value. I'm still here. I'm still leaving my mark on the world, making meaningful connections and working harder than ever to create value. It's easy to give up. That's why so many people do it. But it's also why we see so much sadness in the world. When you throw in the towel, it doesn't make any of those disappointments go away. They're still there. all you've done is thrown regret into the mix. Oh my goodness, Amy.
Did
Talk
I
about
write
some
that?
powerful words. I know. Isn't that surprising? Sometimes you're like, I wrote that.
I haven't read that in a while. I'm doing a book signing this weekend.
Oh, page 115 going into 116. I was just, my blue highlighter was going crazy, but oh my goodness, it's just, you will create value. And I think so many people could fall in a state of victimhood, in self-pity with every challenge and difficulty you've had throughout your life, and become very angry and resentful and bitter. And I'm not saying that, oh, I can tell by seeing you, that's just not who you are inside. So it's been easy for you to stay, enthusiastic and positive. But I mean, what is it that you feel, really from within? Because you can do a lot of good with this, and you can touch a lot of people's lives, and you have, there's so many people out there that you can impact. And what is the saying I just love, make your problems your purpose. Because you can either make your problems your purpose, or you can make your problems, your self-pity, or, your own self-destruction, and everybody else's for that matter.
That's what we're seeing,
Yeah.
Especially right now, where we are in the world.
Yeah. I mean, well, what do you think? Because, I mean, these are not just everyday problems, because I think so many of us get stuck in the self-pity, victim, and, and it's just our everyday problems of, it's just normal circumstances. We're overworked, we're underpaid, there's a conflict with this person or that, or, this is broke. You have some really big stuff, and this is still your attitude. What's your advice to people? How do you maintain this mindset?
It takes work, I am not really perky by nature, to tell you the truth. And I, of course, battle horrible suicidal depression, anxiety. The health stuff gets very frustrating. I still get sad when I see my friends up there dancing on Instagram, like 4 of them did the Macy's Day Parade, and I'm watching their legs move, and I'm just like, but I write in the book, like I got bored with myself. I was like, okay, self, is this what it's going to be? Because you're going to have to figure this out, and again, and I keep saying it over and over and over, but it's true for me, having been so ingrained in this philosophy of humanism, and this is ultimately my karma. On a deeper level, we choose our circumstances so we can transform them. So some of us have crazier things than others, but we all have things, and by transforming them, this is how we change our karma, change or transcend our reality. So I knew that immediately, and that is always what brings me back. And the community of the SGI is there to support through life. It's been difficult with COVID for everyone. It's, I said, I did the Tamron Hall show, and I said, the release of this film right now is so mystic with because we've lost hope, and just what we get in the media is so horrendous, and we're getting further and further away from the fact that we have the capacity to create anything, but we get so wrapped up in these stories. I'm having to change it with myself right now over the single thing, which is been a horrible source of pain and suffering. I hate it, but okay, what do I have to do in my life to turn this around? So I'm starting this thing on Instagram. Follow on Instagram, Amy's Victory Dance. The funnest single girl's guide to the funnest holidays ever. I'm like, what, this year I'm not gonna go down, because so then it becomes like a game to me. Like, all right, let's see what we can do with this. Like, I had a great day Thursday. Did I go to a party? No. Was it with the man and the family? No. Was it here with the cat hanging out in West Palm Beach? Yes. So now it's kind of like, all right. And I think, and you can probably attest to this, each thing that we do, we gain a little bit more confidence. So it's like, okay, I got through all of this. And I just get tired of being miserable. So it's hard when you have physical things, and I'm very grateful that I have extraordinary naturopathic care, and I'm feeling a lot better, because when you don't feel well, it's really tough, or you're in pain. The pain is hard, wears you down. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn, self-care. I've learned to say, no, I can't do that. No, I don't like to be out at night because I don't see that well. No, I can't go to the club. No, I can't go up and down the stairs. It's okay.
Right. I love that you said, because I remember I highlighted that in the book too. You got bored with yourself. I instantly thought of so many little things. And one thing that came into my head is, I just feel like how we can complain and, for better words, we bitch. We're a society of complaining bitchers. But it's at some point, if someone, when you're around someone that's constantly complaining, you're just enough already. Like, shut up. Yeah, it's so draining. And to look at it from like, it's almost kind of look at yourself from that third person point of view of, I'm bored with it. I'm over it. Stop bitching. Like, I'm done.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. And you talk in there, and I've said this, I have talked this way to myself too. It's like at some point you got to pull up your big girl pants, and enough already. Enough.
I did do that before the bus when I was struggling to pay the rent at 34, 35 because of the trajectory I had been put on by the codependency and all that karma. But get a job. Like, you're smart. Go put this sick thing down. You have to pay the rent. You live in New York. Everyone in New York has 5 jobs. Everyone. It's what you do. So I did. And oh my God.
Yeah. You stepped up to the plate. I mean, with the real estate and teaching the fitness classes. And
it wasn't my dream career. This is what I also find troubling about these youth. They don't want to, I hate that, pay your dues, but your youth is for learning and for working and for figuring things out and for, for working your way up and learning. Of course, we don't know how to communicate now because of these damn things, but learning skills and doing things wrong and fixing them and that's what creates like a whole competent human. And if you don't have to do that, you just want to, that's a whole other.
No, but I think not that you need to, live a life of trauma and torment.
No, not at all.
Nothing can happen to us. We can't sit with discomfort anymore. Or it's like we need to learn how to, it's not like you're just going to become resilient to everything in this world. It's a daily practice, but practicing resilience is something you need to learn.
That's a life skill.
Like you even talk about, it's a life skill. And I think if we're not taught it, then we don't know how to manage our lives and our emotions and everything that happens. And it's just, and
it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. And who cares that you, like you said, even like you say with those jobs, I think of my high school jobs or even through college, and there were some I loved, there were some I hated. And guess what that taught me? I know what I like and I know what I don't like. I know what I'd like to do, for the future, not necessarily my entire life, but I know what I'm not going to do. And there's nothing wrong with going through hardships.
Being a little uncomfortable. Like, that was an amazing experience. It would not have been a lifelong thing. I would have chosen a better way out than getting crushed by a bus, but I did really well. I was like, oh, I have skills. Oh, I'm learning things. Oh, I saw where I went wrong with this situation. Oh, and I was able to get on a financial stability situation, which afforded me to start to make other choices. So everything's just handed out. And, I love working. I love creating. It makes me sad that I'm seeing that start to wane, like that excitement of working and making something happen and having a victory, as opposed to just not, or having it handed to you, or
Right. And two, it's I kept thinking of the word liberating, just say when it's well, I'm going to use kind of go back and forth. It's liberating when you got your license. Okay. Well, not so liberating when, your license was taken away or you could no longer drive. But it's liberating when you finally get yourself someplace, say in a snowstorm, to the, could you call it the trial, not the trial,
yeah,
to
the mediation.
The
That
mediation.
was crazy.
Things like
storm.
Yes, but you did it. You're the first
Every
one
train down.
right. And I even thought of too, here the taxi drops you off a block away in a snowstorm, and two construction workers see you and help you get there. It's like that feeling inside of, you could have looked at this day. It's impossible. I have limitations. I can't, I have this leg and it's in my eyesight and spiral down. But it's, how liberating is it that you got there, and as you're getting there, people are showing up to help you, and you get there, and how the day turns out, you're the first. There's just so many liberating things that I feel like we just throw in the towel so early now, and it's just, I'm done. Never works out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work out because you didn't really put any effort into,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it's, and I kept thinking of, not that it's in the acronym of dance, but just the persistence. If there is something that I could, smack on your chest, you're persistent and you have grit. And I feel like it's gotten you where you are. And you're going to have more bad days. We're all going to have more bad days, but it's those little reminders of, but wait, I have grit and I'm persistent, and look at where that grit and persistence has gotten me.
And action, you take action, cause and effect. You take action, you get a result. Like, there it is again. So even today, was I nervous about emailing the producer, even though I met him? Like, but you know what? I want to work with this person. She's not accessible to anyone in the normal world, and they have access. So it's easier now on the computer because you can just be like, send, ding, ding, ding. It's
Right.
not that you don't feel bad. Like you talked about courage. I got an email, it's disturbing, but again, I feel fortunate. I'm able to see that some of the response to that situation was not really about me. And so I try not to take it personal, but these people are not serving me in this situation anymore. So it comes with age too, but.
Right. But even just, it takes courage to send it out, because it was something that, it is a little, you're fearful of rejection or whatever. But what's worse?
Think I'm crazy.
Oh, well, you know what? They can't think that unless there's a level of crazy in them, right? When you think the possible thought, aren't we all? Aren't we all? But I think your mindset, though, has played such a big role. And I don't know if it's right to label it like a healing journey, because it's not just getting run over by a bus that you have really had a lot of healing from. There's all kinds of things. There's just, and I think that with everyone, we have, you go through life and there is just stuff and it accumulates. And all of a sudden, it's like years or decades later, you are, you're a different person because of it. And you can either be, what's the saying, better or bitter. And it's your mindset as you go through life. All of these things, because just in this world, we will have trouble. There's problems. So you can either see those problems as growth opportunities to live a better life and keep living a better life, or all of these problems we can just hold on to, and it can, suck us down and keep us stuck in this mindset of meh. I don't even want to sum it up with a word for someone.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It's just meh.
That's a good word. And don't watch the news. Oh,
exactly.
I don't even know what's going on. That's not true. I do.
And the thing with that is somehow we were all surviving. I think we were thriving better before we were, it's not even news.
It's entertainment on all sides. That's a bipartisan problem. It's not even, I saw a brilliant interview with Mike Wallace, Bill Maher, and talking about Walter Cronkite, who people don't even know who he is anymore, but like the last of the actual journalists, who were very just fact focused and not, but it comes down to the three evil poisons, right? Greed, anger, and stupidity. It's about the ratings. It's about the ad dollars. It's not about, it's so knowing that. But again, we've lost this capacity to critically think, to be curious, to look beyond that, to go searching for non-corporate news, to try and find facts, to, if it doesn't, I have no notifications, none, zero, no social on my personal phone. If you need me, you know how to reach me. Don't DM me because I'm not going to get it. I'm...
Oh, good. That just reduced my stress. Then you didn't care that I just texted you when I wanted to interview. As I thought about that, should I be emailing her? I'm like, yeah, no, that takes a lot of time. Hey, Amy, can I interview for the podcast? Shot that text out. Good. It's the real connections, right? Yeah. No,
and I
know.
think we're craving more of that. The less of it we get, the more of it. We're so information overloaded. We can't even, you send something out with a date on it that's 3 weeks away and people are like, oh, sorry, I missed your thing. And I'm like, it's 3 weeks, and it's no one's fault. It's not a judgment. It's just a reflection of the times. Your brain can't process that much coming. So I just shut it down,
It's funny you say, I just shut it down. I think that's, I can't tell you how often I feel like my brain is shut down. And I am completely aware. There's so much coming in and there's so much. I mean, there's even times it's like, I freak out around the house. The microwave's beeping, the washer's beeping, someone's phone's going off, someone's yelling, mom, someone, the doorbell's going because it's so much. Like, but why? And then it's like I've asked myself, like, why does this stuff stress me out? Like, even in the car, my backup camera, it's like beep, 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 beep. Like I'm going to run into something. It's stop. Like everybody stop.
And it literally is short circuiting your nervous system. That's a whole other conversation, but you're physiologically responding to, and I don't know I don't know, that's all separate
Overload.
podcast. But we're on overload. And and we were just having this conversation prior. I have shut down. I've had to shut it down, and not out of personal dislike of anything, but just I was getting it was too much Zoom and too much ideas and too much, and I was losing scope of who I was and what my thing was. And I had to close it out and rein it in and just take we don't know how to be quiet anymore, you know? Read actual books, not Kindle. And you know what? I am single. I am in Florida right now. Let me just sit outside.
Yes. Yes.
And that is, so, and let your nervous system recover, because I see these people with these notifications, CNN and this and that. And I'm like, why? What value is this creating in your day? I was in the elevator in New York with a woman. I go out in the morning in New York without my phone to get a coffee. And who do I need to talk to at 7:30 in the morning? I know everyone in the neighborhood. I'm 2 blocks from my building. If something happens, it'll be fine. And the woman was like, oh my God, I can't leave my phone. I feel like I'm missing something. I said, well, are you? And like, I love going out without my phone.
Right.
But I'm grateful that I don't know. It's a bigger, just rein it in and just be in the moment. We can't. It's a precursor. If I'm on a date and you're on the phone, then get off your freaking phone, put it in the bag. And I'm guilty of it too. Look, I'm not a saint. I get caught up in Instagram, but then I go, oh my God, I just wasted 15 minutes of my life. For what? Nothing.
Yes. Yes. There's not a benefit there. It's like done. Amy, your book is fabulous. And so Dance Because You Can is, I grabbed mine on Amazon, and nope, Amy, you froze. Oh my God. This is perfect. So this part, I think, well, I don't know. Ha! There you are. You just want to test my editing skills.
Bros. I'm like, see, we start talking about technology and you went,
whoop. So no, I'm going to edit this little part too. So I might have a little pause before we jump back in. So what I will do, you just want to test me out on all this editing stuff, right? Can she cut and splice, right?
You froze. I was like, Jamie.
Yeah, so did you. I'm like, love it.
I'm still on full bars. I don't know why it keeps disconnecting. It's weird.
I know. I don't know. So, Dance Because You Can. Tell me where people can grab a physical copy or whatever kind of copy.
If you go to amyjordanspeaks.com, everything is there. The movie link, the book link, whole bunch of cool articles and fun stuff and what's upcoming. And yes, the movie's available on Amazon, Amy's Victory Dance. Please leave a review.
Awesome. Yes.
Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. The movies really taught me that. I had postcards made up and I give them to everyone. Waiters, bus drivers.
That's awesome.
I'm like, here, watch my movie.
Well, I think you're adding value to other people's lives, right? And you did. The book is just such a great reminder of that. So is the movie, just your whole story. And it is. It's just, if we have these little things in our head, like a victory dance, and I think we need these little mantras as good reminders as we just go about our days, and I think you're a huge inspiration and a big voice for that. So ask for what you want. You are, but you're also really giving so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here as we kick off this podcast together. I really appreciate you joining me on this journey because I'm well aware you could be doing or listening to anything right now. Hey, if you enjoy the Authentically Raw content, please support the show by following, rating, and reviewing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can also follow me on social media for daily inspiration. Head over to my website, jamieberris.com, to sign up for weekly transformation tips. Or if you're interested in coaching, I currently have 3 openings for one-on-one coaching. If you're looking for an empowering community, we'd love for you to join us in the Transformation Tribe, our group coaching membership. More info available on my website under the Life Coaching and Membership tabs. One last thing, I'm rooting for you. Be real, be raw, be authentic.